time to take a look at the Japanese in our last entry of the BR3 guide series. If this is your first video, make sure you take a look at the introduction of the German guide, because there you get within 10 minutes the general explanation of how the BR3 environment in Enlisted looks and the most important understanding to become good at BR3 Enlisted. So, starting with the rifles, it gets a bit complicated because you might want to get the Type 4 rifle, but as the name implies, it's a BR4 weapon, so you're stuck with the Type Otsu or the Type Hei. And here's the thing, both weapons are almost the same. Type Otsu is a bit better, though the problem is it's BR3 and the Type Hei, while being very similar, is BR2. So if you want to save silver, it's optimal to just buy lots of Type Heis and get used to them and just play them. Though if you're swimming in silver, you can actually hyper specialize and get for literally every setup a perfect rifle. One of the biggest advantages of the Type Otsu is not only that it's overall faster, but it also has some really good sights. And as usual, both weapons come with bayonets, because that's what Japanese really like to put on their rifles, even their SMGs and even their machine guns. So yeah. So as I said, it's not really worth to spend all your silver on the Type Otsu, because the advantage is quite minimal, but the cost is insane, since as a semi-auto rifle you need to upgrade it to the maximum to be good, otherwise the damage is too low, otherwise you're missing out on lethal damage on 100-meter distance, so yep, it's just very expensive. Then, regarding the snipers and grenade launchers, well, the situation is quite simple. You don't have much to choose from. You literally have the two standard grenade launchers, and of course you want the anti-tank grenade launcher. There's no reason at all to play the normal one if you can just play the anti-tank grenade launcher. And as explained in the German guide, you don't need to upgrade them, because most of the time you will just shoot the grenades, which aren't really affected by the upgrades. And the actual bolt action part you will rarely use, and the costs are just not worth it. So yeah, this is one of the weapons you can save a lot of silver on. Regarding the sniper rifles, very similar. They are slow as hell. And instead of using a sniper rifle like this, you just can use the Type 97 machine gun, which is a straight up better. Straight up better, one of the best this is, by the way, one of the best sniper rifles in the game. And the funniest thing is, it makes sniper squads absolutely obsolete, because they give you the chance of playing 3 snipers with the penalty of a significantly reduced squad size of 5. Now guess what, if you play Japanese machine gunners, you can also get your 3 machine gunners with this weapon and 4 more soldiers, and all the advantages of a machine gunner squad, for example heavy machine gunners. So yeah, like, this is by far the best. So the anti-tank rifle absolutely worth it, and the rest just useless. Now comes the more complicated question: which SMG are we playing? Because we have many to choose from. We have the Type 100 late, the SIG 90-20, and then some previous ones. Now, the previous ones are basically all too bad. You could argue for this weapon, which is extremely special, because if you take a look at it when it's upgraded, you will see that it comes with some insane low recoil of 9.9. This is literally headshot begging recoil. Like, if you see a group of enemies, you want to spray in their heads. Only downside is it feels very weak. Like, the shooting sound is very small, and despite being quite fast, the shots feel very slow, or the cadence feels very slow. So this weapon never feels as good as it should be in theory. And it's an absolute beast on low BR, because these stats are just insane. But for high BR, I tried it out, and it just disappointed compared to the other SMGs, because you get a good classical case, a good dual wielding combo for SMGs. And the Japanese let you dual wield SIG 920s, yes, of the famous SIG SMG family, built and authorized and exported throughout the whole world, basically in the 20s and 30s, and the Type 100 late. Now here's the deal about these two. First of all, the SIG 920 comes with a hefty 50 round magazine. This is really good. Then it comes with the small SMG damage, meaning you need 4 hits on medium damage to kill. But it has a good fire rate and it has extremely good recoil. Only 7 horizontal means you can very precisely aim with this thing. On long range, despite the low damage, you can easily get headshots with it. And you can easily spray down a whole squad thanks to the huge magazine size. So this is insanely good. And once you get closer to short range, you want to switch over to the Type 100 because this one has easy kill in 2 hits on short range. And even if the enemy isn't exactly 10 meters, just a bit more, your insane fire rate of 920 and your still very low recoil means you easily spray away everyone in front of you. Now, you can, of course, if you want, only play one of those because this weapon, despite being perfect on mid and longer ranges for an assault weapon, SMG, still very good on short range because it's fast enough and it's easy to aim with, and it has a bayonet to just step randomly. But this is insanely good, insanely overpowered on short range. It's still good on mid range, but becomes very bad on long range because you barely get any hits due to the high fire rate and the instantly quick recoil addition, but still quite good. Also keep in mind you get additional minus 10% vertical recoil thanks to the bayonet. So yeah, these bayonets aren't just for stabbing and for looking good, they're also giving you additional minus 2.1 and minus 2.4 vertical recoil. So yeah, this is the optimal way, and as a Japanese player in general, you really want to min-max, because as we're gonna find out soon, there's not that much good stuff the Japanese have. And especially when you need it the most, the Japanese equipment suffers hard. So you really want the maximum firepower. We already have we basically have the worst. Yeah, we literally have the worst semi-auto rifles in the game for BR3. I'd rather play the Gewehr 41, which isn't even that good, over these things, because 5 bullets is just a bad joke. The bolt actions aren't much better. For example, for the Germans, I'm playing K98Ks on mid-BR over the Gewehr 41s. But as a Japanese, the bolt actions aren't even that strong. So yeah, you're stuck with bad and worse. And for the grenade launchers, at least it's good, but your snipers aren't unplayable. And the power jump you get as a Japanese is really with these 2 SMGs. So that's important to know. Then what about the machine guns? Well, here you get the recently viable combo, thanks to this newest edition, of Type 97 and Key E7. Here, once again, it's basically mandatory to dual wield. Any other way and you get significantly weaker machine gunners. Because this one, as already said, is a scope machine gun, meaning you get a scope for long range, and you always want to start battles with this, because this gives you the advantage of spraying away enemies before they can actually start shooting back properly. Because you don't want those Americans to get too close to you, because otherwise they start spraying you down with their Brownings and with their Thompsons. And the Thompsons are just better than your SMGs on short range. They're just shooting way too fast, way too high damage. And their Brownings, if they get too close, are also too dangerous because their aiming speed and overall just handling is so much better, you can't outplay them. So you need the range advantage of the Type 97. Also, as a little bonus, it only has 5 stars, so it's quite easy to upgrade, quite inexpensive to upgrade. Then you get the Key 7, which is also luckily only 5 stars. And this is quite similar to a Browning. It feels quite similar, the handling is quite similar. The sights aren't as good, the recoil is worse, but overall it's quite fine. So you want it on a short and medium, or more likely on short range, you want to play the Key 7, and you get a 25 bullet magazine. So this is one little advantage you get above the Browning. And you want this one on short range, and you can actually outplay your Americans. Now, if you want to power game, the Japanese are the only nation where you really possibly want to just play 3 machine gunner squads, or 2, because it's actually really fun to play this weapon. I could play basically only these weapons non-stop. They never get boring, and they're really fun to play, and especially with the scope, it's just insane. I wouldn't do it under no circumstances for any other nation, for any other BR, but for this nation, yes, it's just so good. Then, about the heavies, well, here we get some nice options. Well, despite not having too many weapons overall, once again, the Japanese weapon tree is the smallest one out of all nations. No wonder they were the latest nation to be added, and they only have one theater, whereas other nations all had at least two, meaning they had multiple different weapon sets. So you get access to the short-range flamethrower. This might be the worst flamethrower in the game, because despite having the same stats as the others, it suffers from being only viable in the Pacific, which is rarely short range. So this is just not really playable. Then, here comes the strength. You get access to a Type 4 rocket launcher, Type 5 rocket launcher, and the best anti-tank rifle and also best semi-auto rifle in the game, and this is no joke, this is the truth, the Type 97 anti-tank rifle. Now, this makes the Japanese anti-tank gun squad actually viable, because you really want to have one, possibly two of these in your army, since they are absolutely perfect at sniping everything. Now, the fact that this is a BR1 weapon, although being one of the... This is so good, it's power level 3 or 2.5, but since the Japanese are so weak as an army, they need some little advantages. As you can see, every nation has some advantages depending on the power levels. For example, Americans get the P-51 in BR3, the Germans get the IARC on BR1, the Japanese get this in BR1, and the Soviets get just down-tiered stuff everywhere. So yeah, this is really good, though it's only good for its flexibility, and it's actually good if you learn how to shoot planes with it, because you one-shot every plane in the game with it, though it takes a while to learn that. Now, the penetration though is still quite good, so every weakly armored American tank, and especially every APC, instantly explodes. Against the heavy armored tanks, especially if you get up-tiered, you want the bigger boys though, and here you choose between the Type 5 and Type 4. The Type 5 is literally just a big metal pipe without any type of iron sights or aiming help. So you literally just need to aim at the center of your screen. This makes it challenging to use, but once you learn to aim with it, it's really good. And it has 100 penetration, which is by far the best you can get out of the Japanese stuff. Alternatively, if you want a weapon that's much easier to use and has more effective range, you can use this bazooka-looking Type 4 launcher. I wouldn't be surprised if the Japanese build it after capturing a bazooka, because especially the backside looks quite similar to a bazooka, and the overall design is similar. And the penetration is similarly low, meaning you don't have a shaped charge, you literally are dependent on the acceleration of the projectile, that's why it's so long. You still get only 80 millimeters of penetration. The 20 millimeter difference, the 20 millimeter difference is significant, because tanks, once again, even if it's 1 millimeter too less that you're lacking, the tank won't explode. So every millimeter counts, and you can basically pick, do you want a rocket launcher for long range? Though keep in mind, on longer ranges your penetration drops off even more. Or do you want a rocket launcher which is overall stronger? Now my recommendation is, forget about the Type 4. It's literally not worth it, because it's only good and only better than the Type 5 at longer ranges. But this is exactly also where the penetration gets even smaller due to the drop-off. So, like, this weapon basically makes itself obsolete due to its design, and it takes one grind progression more. So I recommend to just learn how to aim with this thing, and basically play a mix of having 2 of these and 1 of these. And then you just whip out this whenever you need to blow up a tank that's close, and then you have this one for the flexibility in general. Also keep in mind that, once again, this is the best semi-auto rifle in the game. It plays exactly like a semi-auto rifle, though it has insane damage on all distances. I mean, you can shoot everything across the whole map and you will instantly kill it, and you still penetrate all types of covers. Like if you think there's a bunch of dudes in a house, just shoot through the walls. And you will get kills. Like you constantly can just shoot through the walls and it's very nice and fun to play. So yeah. Then the Mortar, well, ironically enough, the Pacific is the perfect campaign for mortars. But the Japanese only have the weak mortar, so yeah. Not good. Then the APC, absolutely worth it. Because yeah, you really want your nice little toy truck to drive around and be mobile. And the Japanese need all the infantry strength they can get, because they have 0 vehicle strength. And 0 means literally 0. And this isn't even a pun with the famous Japanese 0, because you don't get any zeros. Yes, because try to find a good playable 0 in Lobia. Exactly. You can't. And the biggest problem is, these Japanese planes, they all start on carriers. Not only is it super annoying, it's also extremely weak because it takes forever to take off, especially since these planes are usually very slow. This is, by the way, the best plane you can play on mid-BR for the Japanese, and it's an event plane. You can also buy them. They are the fire planes in the store, though they're overall not that strong. Though if you really like playing them, they're a good pickup when we have the sales again. Let me find them. Where are they? Should be somewhere. I can't even find them. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, they're a good pickup when we have sale again in winter, because they're quite fun to play. But yeah, here's the problem with the planes. They all start on carriers, whereas American planes, especially the ones I recommended, don't. This means on the first objective, the American has a 30-second advantage. 30 to 40 seconds. So he will always be the first on the point. He will always be the first to blow up the point, and you can't do anything about it. And then he will be even able to fly into your gray zone and shoot you down. And since his nose is better armored than the paper planes the Japanese have, you can't even prevent that. So, summed up, the Japanese planes are just very badly implemented. In World War II, they were known for their very well aerodynamics and highly effective implementation, but in Enlisted, they just fail. So, ironically enough, the only environment where you can really enjoy Japanese planes are the high BRs, because here you actually get planes that start in the air and not on carriers. And these planes are very well performing, but on low BR it's just a joke. Another problem is you either have to choose between, well, very bad speed or, well, good turn rate and okay bombs, but then you get horrible machine guns, which once again, against the American planes, you need heavy machine guns. Normal machine guns against American planes don't work. It's exactly what the Japanese found out in real life in World War II, so you can basically forget about normal machine guns. Then next plane, same problem. A bit faster, still godlike turn rate, but once again, only bad bombs and only 2 weak-ass machine guns. What the hell? Okay, next plane. Oh, this is actually the only one I can recommend from BR3. And yes, it's a BR2 plane, but the BR3 planes just get... Well, the problem here is, or the good thing here is, it has 1 heavy bomb and 2 light bombs. This is good. This is already better than what you usually get. It has a speed that, well, average weak-ass Japanese speed, and still a very good turn rate. And it has, well, once again, only normal machine guns, but at least you have 2 in the front and 1 in the back. Not that, well, the back machine guns ironically do more than the front machine guns, since this machine gun actually can snipe pilots, but this one won't be too effective. But still, this is not strong compared to what you get as an American. Compared to the P-38G, this is just an utter joke. Then you can also pick the Ryzen. Much faster, much better flying characteristics overall, though it's a fighter. And for a fighter it's actually better, because it's okay, because it has at least 20 millimeters, though I don't know whether the Emperor-elect iron again, because apparently he only gave you 60 shots per cannon, which is barely enough to make it playable. That's literally, if it was 200, I would say this plane is actually playable, but like the bombs are weak ass, the machine guns are weak ass, and only 60 shots per cannon is also not good. Then we got this plane. I can still remember when it was added. I made even a short, one of my first shorts I ever did on Instagram, because this plane was an absolute game changer. It was the first plane that could actually deal with American tanks, actually blow up jumbos, and now it's still the best plane at blowing up high precision targets. Reason for that is, look at this absolutely unbelievably small turn rate. This doesn't just turn left and right in an extremely nimble way. You can literally you can fly almost exactly into a tree and then last second start pulling up and you won't hit the tree. This is how ridiculously good this plane maneuvers. Like, this plane's aerodynamics are insane. The two bombs are also very good. And the speed is so tolerable, and climb rate at least is good. Well, it's meant to be a dive bomber. Well, originally it was a reconnaissance plane, but it was also used as a dive bomber because the flying characteristics were really good. Now here's the problem though. It don't have no fucking machine guns. I don't see a single machine gun in the front. Yes, this is how you can, by the way, identify that it was meant to be a reconnaissance plane. It only has a randomly added weak ass single machine gun in the back. Dudes, are you kidding me? This is just, yep, this is just a joke. I mean, this is an absolute joke. And it still starts on the plane, on the carrier, I mean. So yeah, I mean, if you want to really fly, if you want to have fun just using the aerodynamics, this plane is cool, but the strength just isn't there. Once again, compare this to P-38G, nope. Compare this to a P-51 and you will instantly know one of the many reasons why Japan lost the Pacific warfare. So yeah, the only really recommendable plane you can get is, ironically enough, one of the fuel tank planes, either from the old event or from the shop, because they, well, I have this one, and this one is just much better than the others. It's much faster than a normal Japanese plane. It has one of the best climb rates, not only for the Japanese, but in the game. This is insane. And it has still one of the best turn rates in the game. And it comes with, oh, look at this, the Emperor was generous, 200 autocannon shots. Every cannon, 100 shots, perfect. And it also has infinite small machine gun shots. But that's not even that important, because obviously the most important things are the autocannons. And you get your 330 liters fuel tank that you drop, and it ignites the ground, which is not as strong as it sounds because fire is nerfed. Ironically enough, it was, I think, nerfed shortly before or after these planes were introduced. Yep, just stupid timing. And you have two small bombs, and this one also is so precise that you can do absolute precision bombings with your bombs and your fuels and actually blow up even heavy tanks, because yeah, they're like the small bombs, you can place them basically exactly next to a tank and then blow up even jumbos with them. And fun fact, if you drop this fuel on an APC, it will basically instantly explode, and if you drop it on any open top tank, it will instantly explode, and if you drop it on a Calliope, it also instantly explodes. So yeah, these planes are actually one of the few good ones. And for the almost end, what about the tanks? Well, here comes the fun part. Yeah, the tanks, you get from BR2 the Ho-E, which is the only playable low BR tank, and it still remains quite playable because the Japanese don't have that many good alternatives. It's quite a good plane for a tank for low BR, ironically enough, and it also looks very cool with the nice green camo. So this is playable if you grind further. You also unlock the Shino, which I think was recently downgraded. Yes, it used to be BR4. Now this is significantly better because now instead of a medium long 50mm, you get a quite long 75mm. This tank actually can duel any American tanks. This is actually what you want if you're up against Shermans or howitzer tanks. Against Shermans, the Sherman still has the upper hand because his armor is just better. And his cannon is similar to yours. So he one-shots easily. You don't. But if you see him first, you still win the duel. So it's about information advantages, which is the same thing as in real life. Biggest skill a tank commander and tank crew can have is spotting the enemy first. So yeah, and it's just overall good. You can shoot targets at long range, and the HE is also quite nice. So yeah, this is actually a viable tank. Why do I have 2 tanks? Very simple. The planes are so bad that if you want to fill up a bunch of vehicle squads, you need to play the 2 tanks. And this makes the army building very simple for the Japanese. Because looking at their squad types, we can see, well, you might play an anti-tank gun and squad, though it's not that important. Planes you generally want to avoid, unless you have the special planes. Assaulters you want to play, they are really good and strong. Engineers you actually might want to strongly consider. Yes, they're also one of the really good squads for the Japanese, because since they are lacking planes or plane power, and the tank power, well, having only 1 tank in your lineup isn't that reliable against enemy tanks. Having an engineer squad that can build anti-tank guns and anti-air guns, especially after they were buffed, is really good. So yeah, the Japanese army is the army where I would recommend actually having access to engineer squads in the BR3 lineup. Fighter planes, same problem as with attacker planes. Flametrooper squads, yeah, not on the Pacific map, sadly. Machine gunner squads, as I said, must have. If there's a nation that needs to play 1 squad absolutely, then it's the Japanese playing the machine gunner squad. Medics, not good. Mortars, yeah, just weak mortars. If Japanese get a high caliber mortar, I will instantly recommend playing Japanese mortars, because Pacific is perfect for mortars, but not with the weak ones. Then paratrooper squads, yep, once the game introduces actually good paratroopers, they are strongly recommendable, because the Pacific maps are perfectly made for paratroopers. Radio squad, if it's universal radio squad, like the event one, that can build engineer structures, it's playable. Especially since most of the objectives are very weak against artillery strikes, but besides that, not that strong. Rifleman squads, really good, since Japanese have overall quite a weak power. It's just good to have a rifleman squad with all the anti-tank grenade launchers. In general, playing as a Japanese, you really need to learn how to win with infantry. So you really always want to go hardcore infantry rush to constantly outflank your enemy and constantly place rallies. Because if the Americans manage to drag you into a duel against their vehicles, you will always lose. Like, their planes, their tanks are better than your tanks. They can actually choose among 2 really strong tanks. You can only choose 1 okay tank. And their planes are just infinitely better than yours. So you really need to win the battle on the ground. And you really need to have high firepower. And the grenade launcher squad is usually exactly what gives you the biggest punching power on the ground. And for the remaining squads, sniper squad, as I said, is basically strictly unplayable for the Japanese. The machine gunner squad is strictly better. This might be the biggest power level difference in the whole game, if you compare the Japanese sniper squad with the Japanese machine gunner squad. Then tanks, as we said, okay, but yeah, mostly, well, since you have to pick 1 vehicle squad, even if you're free to play, you really want to play the tank, because the planes are just so bad. So yeah. And APC also viable. Though, ironically enough, here comes a special case. Since the Americans basically always will have the air superiority, the APCs will be very weak. So this brings us to an overall recommended army of 1 machine gunner squad and 1 tank, 1 Shino in that case. And for the remaining 2 squads, you can be lazy and just play more machine gunner squads. Though I recommend a clear setup of 1 machine gunner, 1 assaulter and 1 rifleman squad, and then 1 Shino tank, and you have the absolutely perfect, strongest possible Japanese army. As you can see, out of all nations, the options are so limited that you can clearly build 1 optimal setup for the army of your Emperor's Chosen. And I recommend to stay close to this optimal setup, because if you don't, the Americans are gonna punish you very hard. So don't let the burgers ruin the Emperor's day, and bring honor to the Emperor. Alright, that's it. That's our series for the BR3 armies. Now I'm gonna finally be free to do other types of guides. And I guess within 6 months or so, when the player base grows, we can even do BR1 and 4 guides, because then we're gonna have more fine-tuning possible, because BR1 can be really fun. Little secret, Japanese are really good on BR1. They're really strong on BR1. And also BR4 is really fun, mostly for the Germans, because if you look at the Germans on BR4, you can play literally Panther 4G and the Tiger H1. So yes, a dedicated BR4 tier will be really fun, and I can't wait to start talking about it. So until soon, and goodbye.